Hey everybody, and welcome back to another book review. This book was suggested, well, not really the book itself, but the author was suggested to me a while back when I first started doing all of these book reviews. So it's taken me a bit to get around to it. But then I also had to decide like which book by this author. This author has like 70 some odd books. So I decided to go with the book that was at least in our house already. And so this book is called The Girl Behind the Red Rope by Ted and Rachel Decker. Ted Decker is an author that I think mostly falls in the Christian genre a lot of times, or is at least frequently billed as a Christian author, which I'll talk more about my feelings on that later. But he has a lot of books out, and this is, I think, the first time that he had like co-written a book with his wife. And so this book is about basically stuff that totally is happening in our world, which is just the concept and the idea of following religion out of fear instead of following true Christianity. And there's a lot of different ways that you can, of course, look at that from a lot of different perspectives. But what I really took out of the book was just this whole idea of we, as a society, have to stop following just the concepts of religion and actually look at, what the faith background is, or what the faith is telling us, and what that looks like for us individually, and not just religion. It was a very interesting concept. So that's what the kind of majority of the book is about, but really it's kind of this girl who is about 19 or 20 and basically living in a isolated religious sect who are proclaiming to follow this very closed off Christian path. And as we know from the multitude of documentary series over the last couple of years and a lot of TV shows about people that follow excessively strict religious cults, specifically Christian cults. We know that it's not going well. And so she starts to question things. Her family, or her brother at least, starts to question things. And he's kind of the first one to question things in the story. And then it just kind of spirals into this whole thing. In the end, they discover that the person that they were kind of considering like an angel or kind of like a prophet or whatever was really what they were calling a fury, so a manifestation of fear. And he's basically a demon, for lack of better words. I don't think that they actually use the term demon in describing him. They just refer to him as a massive fury, and so the fury feeds on their fear, and so he created this world of like everything is bad outside, everything is bad, so everybody's afraid to go out. So they all wind up living in this very isolated sect in Tennessee behind a red rope, hence the title "Girl Behind the Red Rope." So yeah, overall, it kind of reminded me a little bit of some of the early phases of Supernatural. If you've ever watched Supernatural, I started watching it way late, like several years after it had been on, and I started binge watching. And so some of the early seasons of Supernatural, I really felt like this book kind of fell into that kind of style a little bit, and then it like took a break and then like jumped to the end of Supernatural. So the book kind of followed things that I like, but in terms of, and this keeps happening to me, probably because I married into a conservative Christian family, but I there's some authors that I think would fall under the Christian author sphere that I've read books by and don't have a problem with, where they're not, awful necessarily. But I am not a huge fan of the vast majority of Christian writers, and it is because even though I myself am a Christian, or I at least, ascribe to Christianity, I don't like the idea of preaching to people through novels. This one wasn't too terribly bad. It really more or less looked at the idea of, okay, you have the Bible, you have your own personal faiths. You know what the truth is. It's like inside of you, like you know what it is. You don't need to follow a self-prescribed religious fervor element. So I agree with that. I just felt like at the end of the book, or like the last maybe chapter or two, it got a little bit preachy, but not too terribly so. But overall, I generally don't like this element of Christian drama or novels, as it were. Not because they're bad. I just feel like I feel like a lot of times it becomes a platform for poor writing or terrible storylines. Kind of like I think a lot of people have seen some of those Christian films that came out like late 90s, early 2000s, Fireproof and Courageous, which actually Courageous is a really good movie and hilarious in my opinion. But there's like a bunch of movies that kind of fell into that whole thing. And if you watch the movies, they are just poorly written movies. They're terrible. And they're covered in the guise of, this is for the Christian folks and this is about Christianity. So then you get this huge group of people that go see these movies or go read these books, and it's not to say that it's wrong to want to have, elements of your faith intertwined in what you're reading and what you're interacting with. I'm not knocking that at all. I think that is important. Absolutely. However, I think that there's a right way and a wrong way to go about proclaiming faith, and it's not forcing people. And that's really where I just have a problem with people in modern days, this whole force feeding of faith and force feeding of religious ideals. I don't force feed people my faith. I think it's wrong to do so. If someone asks about it, I do share. But 95% of the time when I'm meeting somebody for the very first time, I'm not just going to be like, I will pray for you. God loves you. It's just, that's a no-go for me. So yeah, like I said, this book was not near as bad as some other books that fall into the Christian genre that I've read. It just it had like a good page, 2 pages of just a little preachy here, whereas the rest of it was fine, or decently fine, and like I said, really reminded me of some of the early seasons of Supernatural. So yeah, I don't know if I said, but I'm gonna give it a 3 because I really did kind of enjoy the general thought of the story and the storyline, but I would definitely not go beyond a 3. So yeah, that's all I've got for this book review, which is a little long. But again, continue to send me book suggestions. Like I said, this one came out, or this suggestion came about when I first started doing these book reviews, so sometimes it does take me a little while to get around to them, but I do try and get around to the book suggestions, so I appreciate those of you that have continued to suggest books, and hopefully yours will pop up soon. Like, comment, share, subscribe if you feel so moved, and I will see you next time. Bye.